Hello and welcome to Bored and Confused, where I review shows based on two criteria. One, was I bored? Two, was I confused? Today's show is The Pushover, playing at the Chain Theater off Broadway on West 36th Street in Manhattan. But before I get into this brand new play, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me grow this channel and get press tickets to shows like The Pushover. So what did I know about The Pushover before going in? I knew three things. Number one, I knew it was written by John Patrick Shanley, who I love. Number two, it stars Rebecca De Mornay, who I'd heard of. And number three, it's at the Chain Theater, which is a tiny, intimate black box space that I haven't been back to since I reviewed Pushover over a year ago. So it was fun to return to this space. Now, Rebecca De Mornay, I knew the name, but I had to look in the playbill to remind myself why. She has a long list of credits. Her first claim to fame was starring in Risky Business opposite Tom Cruise. She was also on The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Runaway Train. On TV, she had arcs in NCIS, ER, and Jessica Jones. And she's basically been everywhere. She's also done stage work at the Pasadena Playhouse and the Mark Taper Forum. So she's no stranger to live theater. So let me tell you a little bit about how this play came together. De Mornay and John Patrick Shanley had actually worked together before. In 2025, they did a benefit reading of a collection of one acts called Outcasts for the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. Shanley saw her work and thought she was, quote, kind of great. So he texted her the script for The Pushover, and she pulled over her car to the side of the road, and she read it right then and there. And that's what you do when John Patrick Shanley sends you a script via text. Was it all text messages? I don't know. Anyhow, the Chain Theater artistic director, Kurt Gutkowski, who is directing this production, has previously collaborated with Shanley on a one-act festival and approached him about doing a full-length piece. Rehearsals for The Pushover began in early March 2026, with tech running from March 26th through April 1st, and I caught the very first preview on April 3rd. So this thing was fresh, piping hot, out of the oven. And opening night was last night, April 6th, and it runs through April 26th. And this is a world premiere. Quick note about the Chain Theater, it is a 99-seat off-Broadway house, and they used to be located out in Long Island in an actual chain factory, hence the name. But that building got sold for luxury condos, as buildings in New York do, and they moved to their current home on West 36th Street. So, what is The Pushover about? Well, I shall tell you. The Pushover is a lesbian noir romantic triangle. The show centers on Pearl, an Asian American chef in her 40s who used to own several successful Asian fusion restaurants. Pearl is, as she tells her therapist at the top of the show, a pushover, just like her mother before her. Interesting note, she often wears white gloves erotically. Pearl has two women in her life, both of whom have treated her badly. The first is Evelyn, played by Rebecca De Mornay, a wealthy, morally flexible woman who owns a chain of day spas in New Mexico. Evelyn is basically a mob boss figure who at some point in the past made Pearl a promise. If there was ever someone Pearl needed taken care of, Evelyn would handle it. The second is Suchi, not her government name, just what she likes to be called. This is a younger woman who got together with Pearl after her relationship with Evelyn ended, and who then stole a large amount of money from Pearl. Evelyn, it's strongly implied, has some very serious blood on her hands and connections to people you do not want to mess with. So Pearl calls in her favor. She wants Evelyn to deal with Suchi. What follows is a series of two-hander scenes, Evelyn and Suchi, then Evelyn and Pearl, and each of these scenes peels back another layer of the story before all three women end up in the same room together for the final confrontation, full of jealousy, threats, and kitchen knives. So let's talk about some positives first. This is an unmistakably John Patrick Shanley dialogue, the aggressive, zingy, loud, dramatically proclaimed kind that in the right hands can be really fun. And there were genuinely laugh out loud moments in this show. The first scene between Evelyn and Suchi worked the best for me. Information was being revealed, surprises were landing, the energy was high, and I also think this scene probably got rehearsed the most because they probably worked chronologically. Christina Toth as Suchi was a real standout. She was grounded, funny, believable, and when Suchi comes back in for that final scene, we see a different side of her. She's more vulnerable, more messy, and I thought Toth nailed that switch. And for that was the performance of the night for me. De Mornay has a ferocity in the role of Evelyn. There's kind of a Barbara Stanwyck tough, broad energy that she brings that really suits the material. But I thought she lacked some of the darkness and sense of danger that would explain why she could never be a match for Pearl. And because her character is someone who's always in control, I felt that there was an emotional sameness throughout the play. Director Kirk Gotkowski does a good job of keeping the physical staging energetic despite a very small performing space at the Chain. Now, the negatives, and I have to be fair here because I saw the very first preview. Some of this simply is just, it's not quite ready yet. They're just getting used to the audience. Lines were dropped, people went up, the pacing wasn't really fully there. And that's just preview stuff, and it's not really fair to criticize the show for it. But there are some structural concerns that I think are about the script itself. The biggest issue for me is the investment of the audience. In the play Doubt, we really care about whether this priest did or didn't do what he's accused of. We're worried about the child. We're worried about his mother. We're rooting for someone. And I think the same thing in Moonstruck. We're really rooting for the character of Loretta and her mother Rose. But in The Pushover, all three of these women are frankly not great people. Pearl is a self-described pushover who keeps making choices that make me just want to shake her, maybe slap her lightly. And Evelyn is a criminal, a mob boss, and Suchi is just a thief. And my feeling was sitting there was like, you guys sort this all out. I'll be over here. Let me know when you're ready. I just wasn't emotionally invested in these characters. And this show needs to be funny wall to wall to compensate for unlikable characters, but it's not quite there yet. And the script, while full of Shanley's characteristic wit, doesn't really give the audience someone to root for. So, was I bored? Yes, a little bit. The pacing is still finding itself, and the play needs maybe a little trim or added some more action. The space is small and maybe needs a bigger space to give us more physical action. So I think, and I think as they tighten it up over the run, that will improve significantly. The good news, it's only 90 minutes with no intermission, so even on a slow night, you're not trapped for too long. So was I confused? Yes, I was a little bit. There's a plot point that's kind of the inciting incident about a FedEx envelope that Pearl sends to Suchi and asks her to deliver it to Evelyn. And I just kept thinking, Suchi, who has stolen money from Pearl and has no reason to do this for her. And I don't even understand why she's talking to Pearl. Why would she agree to do this? And it's kind of the most important moment at the beginning of the play. And I just didn't believe it. And I also found Pearl very perplexing. She's a pushover, yes, but some of her choices go beyond passivity into just are actively baffling. And I just find myself not sympathetic for her, but just frustrated with her. So look, here's the thing. This was a world premiere. It was a first preview of a new play by one of America's most decorated living playwrights, a man who has won the Pulitzer Prize, the Tony, and the Oscar. And we were in a tiny 99-seat theater in Midtown off Broadway, and I think the context matters. This show is in process. The dialogue has real fire in it, and the performances, particularly Christina Toth, I thought is worth the trip. And I'm genuinely curious to see how this run develops and how this show develops. But where it's at now is it's a far cry from his work like Moonstruck and Doubt. So if any of the following sounds good to you, John Patrick Shanley dialogue, Rebecca De Mornay back on stage, a terrific performance by Christina Toth, lesbian film noir with day spas and kitchen knives, then you should go check out The Pushover at the Chain Theater. It runs through April 26th, and you get to see something new that's alive and in progress, and there's something exciting about seeing new theater like that. So, where do you get your tickets? I was fortunate enough to get a press ticket, thanks to all of you who like, comment, and subscribe on my videos. That's much appreciated. There is not a bad seat in this house. It's a black box 99 seat. You're in the actor's laps. You're really close up. And I can say they all look great. especially Rebecca De Mornay. She looks fan-freaking-tastic. So tickets, I know there's $43 rush tickets on the Today Tix app, and I'm sure there will be other opportunities to score some cheap seats for this show. So if this sounds interesting, please check it out and come back and let me know what you thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And until then, I will see you at the next one. Bye.
Don't wanna drift away, wanna stay inside the play. Keep me engaged, keep me amused with what's in front of me, 'cause I don't wanna be bored and confused.